Welcome to Extra Blue. I'm your host, Alayna. I just wrapped up a 3-week camp training at altitude in Colorado, and I am now feeling very tired. I'm grateful for my supporters who helped make this happen, and I'm very ready to head back to sea level. Training has been going super well for me this summer, and I've been plugging away at big volume hours in the mountains, and it's been fun to coordinate some time meeting up with some friends out west and playing in the mountains, but also working hard and still aiming for big goals this winter. While I was in Colorado, I was so close to overlapping with today's guest, Kate Oldham. This podcast is powered by Gear West, a specialty sports campus which has supported and inspired me for years. If you're near Minneapolis, their incredible 25,000 square foot store is just about 5 minutes west of Ridgedale and offers the largest Nordic selection in the country. And no matter where you are, their website is a fantastic resource for learning, motivation, and the gear. Everything you need to chase your goals in Nordic and alpine skiing, biking, running, and all kinds of cross training. Check out gearwest.com. I'm super grateful to have their support, and as a reminder, you can now watch these episodes on Gear West's YouTube channel. Kate was born and raised in Carbondale, Colorado. She had a standout season this past winter, winning her first national title in the 10K skate in Anchorage, Alaska, qualifying for her first World Cup where she dominated, enough to qualify her for the World Championships in Trondheim, Norway. Although it was a whirlwind of a season, I had a front row seat to watch as Kate handled herself with grace, allowed herself to be patient and strategic, and raced with the ebb and flow of a ski season. Kate and I frequently roomed together during our travels this winter throughout Europe, and it was super fun to get to know her better and about her journey from Colorado to Vermont to Montana, battling through COVID uncertainty and searching for the right place that felt like home to her. Kate recently graduated from Montana State University and has joined the BSF Pro Ski team in Bozeman, Montana, where she is preparing for her first Period 1 on the World Cup come November. I hope you enjoy this episode with Kate Oldham. Kate Oldham, welcome to the Extra Blue podcast. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you so much for having me, and it's really good to see your face after a little summer break.
I know, we got to be such good roommates this past winter that I was like waking up next to you every single day, and now it's been weird that I haven't seen you in months. So
I know, it's sad.
I'm excited to catch up today. But can you share with us where you are calling in from right now and what your day has been like so far?
Yes, I'm in Carbondale, Colorado. I just got here yesterday from Bozeman. So far today, I've ridden a new mountain bike that I've recently purchased. So that has been really fun, but it just got super smoky here. So now I'm kind of hanging inside, which is a huge bummer that the air is not looking good, but hopefully it clears up here soon.
Yeah. Gosh, the air quality I feel like has been such an obnoxious part of the summer, and it just keeps hitting different pockets of the US at different times. So I feel
I know it's such a bummer when it comes down on your day like that.
yeah. Okay, well, but new mountain bike. Tell us more about that. What kind of mountain bike?
I just got a Juliana Wilder, which is really exciting to have an upgrade. I have ridden the same bike since the beginning of my high school bike racing career, so it's been a long ride, and I've gotten my money's worth out of that bike. But this upgrade is really fun. Just a good old-fashioned cross-country bike, and there's really fun riding in Carbondale, so I'm excited to have it here this week.
Yeah, where's your favorite place to go? Like kind of around Carbondale.
I definitely ride at Prince Creek the most. It's super easy to just pedal from the house, and the trails are really fun, and you can get kind of big rides or littler rides, and yeah, you kind of get everything.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's super fun. So you said you're in Carbondale. That's where you're from, but do you consider Carbondale home, or what do you call home right now?
Yeah, I do. I grew up in Carbondale. I lived here my whole life until I went to college. And I still spend as much time as I can here, so I do consider it home, but Bozeman is definitely feeling more like a home base these days. Have been there for going on 4 years now. I did 3 years of school, so this is my 4th year. And yeah, I'm feeling pretty settled there as well.
Nice. Yeah. Good to have, two home bases maybe.
Oh
Carbondale can always be your home, but Bozeman can feel like a temporary home for now. But
yeah, I like.
it's yeah. I'm super excited just to chat today about what an amazing season you had this past year. And we'll talk about a lot of different aspects to that. But just to call out a couple of highlights, you were racing, as you mentioned, for Montana State University, and you won your first national championship in Anchorage, Alaska, kind of at the beginning of the season, which then qualified you for World Cup races in period three. And it was super fun to meet up with you then in Engadine, just outside of St. Moritz this winter. And really fun for me to just kind of like cheer you on and see that you crushed that skate sprint in that first World Cup ever. You finished 19th in the heats. Like, what a way to come onto the World Cup with a bang. That was so cool. And the fun didn't stop there. You followed that up with a 16th place in the 10K the following week in Konya and made your way onto the World Championships team where you had an amazing sprint there as well. So just like what an incredible season. And I feel like there's so much to talk about. But in your mind, if you had to pick one moment from this past season that really stands out as the highlight from the entire winter, what moment would that be? Whether that's a race or a traveling moment or just a passing moment with a teammate or someone, whatever it is, what really stands out?
Man, there are so many. Like, I was kind of thinking about that earlier today and this week, and it is hard to pick one. But I think it was that first national title in Anchorage, and not so much because of the result. That was obviously a very rewarding and exciting milestone, but I had my whole family there. My parents and brother were there, and most every Bobcat teammate. Might have, I think we were missing just a couple. Both my Bobcat coaches, and it just felt like a very complete kind of support system that we're all there, and that was really special. And like the Nordic skiing community in general is so tight knit that when you get a U.S. Nationals event or something of the likes, you kind of end up with like all your friends in one place, which is awesome. And everybody was just so excited for me, which was really special and um, kind of inspiring to, always celebrate those around you as well. Like, no matter what kind of day you have. And I think people really showed up that day, and it was just so much fun.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really cool. I feel like it is extra special when you get to have all of the stars align for you and have your support system there to witness it and support you through it. So,
Yeah. And
um,
it's so hard. Like, that's the thing about ski racing, especially at a nationals event, to like put it all together on one day.
yeah,
And so, like, having the other half of it, or other, however much you want to call it, work out as well was just so fun.
yeah, absolutely. Do you think that there's anything specific, like maybe one thing that you did last year to prepare for that national championship event or to make sure that you had all of your eggs in one basket to come together to have those stars align on that day?
I actually think that it was sort of the opposite of like one specific thing. My focus, much of my focus last fall and winter, sort of in the preparation season, was consistency and kind of like finding the rhythm between like all the different scales of training, so daily, weekly, monthly training, and just kind of life outside of training. And so that was one of my main focuses, was just sort of showing up like in similar ways every day, no matter what we were doing for training or whatever else. And I think that kind of allowed me to build a pretty strong foundation, and end up being pretty fit at nationals. And I didn't know exactly, like, I hadn't raced at all before. I had just gone home, and I think that was a really big part of it too, was like taking the pressure off early season racing. Felt really good and really right last year. So I didn't go to any of the super tours or do anything before nationals, and I went home and just um, had a good training block and was able to just relax with family and enjoy the holidays and stuff, and then head up to Anchorage and race. So I think the consistency of the fall was really important for me.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that I feel like so many people need to like have a couple of races to kind of get into things before they're like, wow, that was a standout result. And I feel like you just like entered the season with a bang. First race, national championship title. Like that is so impressive and really cool to just have it all come together like that. So I'm curious, what was your training like with MSU last fall? And kind of how was the environment on the team and how did that kind of contribute to that build up in fitness and that consistency that you were able to build over time?
Um, yeah, I loved skiing for MSU. I loved training in Bozeman. I still love training in Bozeman.
Yeah.
And I had a really rewarding college career. And I think, like a lot of ski training plans look similar. So there's really like, I will not come on here and say, yeah, there's a secret thing that we were doing or like one specific thing that we were doing. Um, but we know how to work together pretty well as a team. And that spreads across like everybody on the team, all different abilities and ages, and college teams are sort of unique because you get people that are totally different ages, like a true freshman who's coming in at, 18 maybe. And then people who have been on the team for 5 years, even took gap years, came in later, kind of in their 20s, mid 20s. And so I think like that diversity within the team is a cool tool. And then we also have like great coaches. Adam and Sam are really, really wonderful and helped me sort of learn how to balance, like, in college, you're juggling all kinds of stuff between like your class load and your social and training and kind of like everything else. And so they were really supportive of me as an individual, which I'm super grateful for. And I think that really helped me thrive, just who I am as a person. I kind of like to be able to do my own thing when I need to. So yeah, there's really nothing secret, but sort of those foundational things were really strong while I was there. So that was awesome.
Yeah, it's so important to have that strong foundation. I feel like having the coaches who understand, you want to be there for as much of the team training as you can. And sometimes you just need to go off and do your own thing because, you might need some space or to clear your head or whatever it might be. So to have coaches who get that and support that and are like, yeah, that's okay. As long as, you're a team player, you can still, it takes so much individual, I guess, determination that like sometimes you need to just like go do that by yourself. And um, yeah, I think that's really important. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think like it does go both ways in that sense, like having coaches that will accommodate you doing maybe something unconventional or even just something different than the team on a day, but also like having the athlete and the knowledge to say like, yeah, this is what I think I need and this is why. And I think I was just talking to one of my teammates at BSF about this the other day, like um, just how valuable it is to be able to identify something that you need and then kind of speak up for it. And so I think
Mhm.
like having both sides of the coin is really important. And I've got a really strong foundation in that coming up through the AVSC program, I think. And my coach August Teed was, always a big proponent of learning what you need and then being able to kind of like say like, yeah, I think this is what I need and why, and then if it works, that's great and you learn something, and if not, you also learn something. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so important for athletes of all ages, but particularly like kind of when they're in that developing phase of, middle school, high school, into college to really focus on like what is working for me? What's making me feel good? What's making me feel not so good?
Totally.
Maybe you are responding to a big volume block and it takes you forever to recover, or maybe you do a ton of intensity and you're like, that was too much, but paying attention to those things for yourself and not necessarily having your coach tell you or point you in one direction. You can converse with your coach about it, but paying attention to those things for yourself and then using them to make decisions in the future, I think is such a key point in becoming such a strong kind of elite or professional athlete. And there are sometimes, when we're traveling on the road and we don't have access to our coach and you have to make this decision, like how much intensity is really best for me when I'm, 3 days away from a big race, or do I want to push it here because it'll make me feel primed and ready to go? And the more you can kind of like check in with yourself and be like, oh, that worked really well, or like, oh, that didn't work well. I think that's really great takeaway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, so you mentioned a little bit about balancing school and skiing at Montana State. And, this past year, you spent a lot of the winter on the road racing World Cups. And I'm curious, like, how did you juggle school throughout that? It was your senior year. And, what did that look like in terms of then racing with Montana State? Like, how did you juggle NCAA racing with World Cup racing, with schoolwork, with socializing? That's a lot on your plate. So how did that look for you?
Yeah, I was in a pretty fortunate position, honestly, this spring, where I have had done most of my degree. And so I think like that was a little bit unique. Um without actually knowing what was going to happen. So this all happened, you register in the fall, and I picked up most of my course load online. So that was a happy coincidence. I also did my whole capstone project in the fall semester to kind of take that pressure off the winter and spring, which um I was extremely grateful to myself to have done. Um anyway, so I was able to finish like the bulk of what I needed to do in the fall. And I'm just so glad because like you said, yeah, when you leave the US, you're in a totally different time zone. I think it would have been a bit of a nightmare trying to research just in terms of like access to resources and stuff like that. So that was all strategic. But I did that without knowing that I was going to be in Europe all spring. So that was just a happy situation all around. Um but yeah, I think like there's, other people working on stuff all around you, and having something to do outside of skiing while you're traveling like can feel overwhelming, but it can also feel like sort of a nice thing to keep your mind occupied on something else if you need something to do. So I don't know, I think I'm fairly organized just in general, and it honestly wasn't too overwhelming for me, but I also like fully admit that I was in a really good spot for that. So I was fully online and had a slightly lighter load as it was, and it just kind of worked out well in that way.
Yeah, well, you had prepared for it in case that could be the case, and
Yeah.
that's a great opportunity you were able to kind of take advantage of. But I'm sure it took a lot of work on the front end to get things done, in previous years of school, and then that fall semester being tricky. Was there one point in the season where you felt like the balance felt particularly challenging, or you had to make any really hard decisions, whether that be about um, racing for MSU versus US ski team, or, even if it's like I had to stay up late to finish this assignment, even though I had to race the next day? Like, what was kind of that give and take?
Yeah, I think one there were two sort of like most notable challenges for me this winter. Um, the first being that I didn't expect the plan that necessarily unfolded. So I went to nationals, and at the beginning of the season, I, sat down, set my goals, and my goal at that point was to qualify for U23 World Champs in a position where I could go over and be competitive. So, racing top 10 at U23s was sort of what I was shooting for. And then, as you mentioned at the beginning, it sort of just snowballed from there. And I struggled with not having a plan and not really being able to plan. I really love like the structure of Nordic skiing and kind of knowing what's going on, and knowing being able to plan to some extent. You're always making changes, but the structure of it is really like I really love that about the sport in general. So not really being able to to make plans for training and traveling and just waiting and seeing, oh, it depends this, depends that. Like I kind of struggled with that, and it's hard already. It's hard to train while you're on World Cup is a big thing that I learned. Like between the travel days and racing, and making sure you're getting recovery from all that hard racing and stuff like that, like doing actual training can be pretty tough. So one
Hmm.
thing I'm really excited for this year is like at least to have a little bit more of a plan going into period one on World Cup. Like I know I'm going, so that's already helpful. and then being able to sort of sketch out what sounds good to me. And then, yeah, the second big challenge was having so many opportunities, which was, unbelievable in itself. But I ended up with kind of a tough decision between world champs and NCAAs. And you get so many different opinions sort of being whispered in your ear about opportunities and, like the weight of different things. And for me, NCAAs felt pretty important because, I do feel really connected to the team at MSU, and you spend a lot of time, like I mentioned, all the teamwork we've done together and like the relationship I built with the coaches there and the staff in general. And then I got starts at World Championships in Norway, which was just so crazy. Like I so did not see that coming. And I did end up in a situation where I could experience both. So I stayed for World Champs, raced the first race, got to see what that was like, and that was pretty incredible. And then I flew to New Hampshire and raced there, and then flew back for period 4. And I think like I knew going into that my race performance could very well take a hit from doing that sort of travel and racing. But I was in a fortunate position to have the opportunity to do it all, and so I went for it, and I was real tired at the end of it, but I think it was worth it, and I wouldn't do it again, but I wouldn't change what I did. And now that I'm done with college skiing, like I'm not really going to be in the position to have to make that choice again.
Yeah.
So I think like I wouldn't change what I did, but it was a lot.
Yeah. I mean, college skiing, like you said, you're not going to be in that position again. And it was your last opportunity to represent your school and the program that like really did help develop you into such an incredible athlete. And I felt very similarly my senior year of college. Not that I had made the world championship team at that point, but I had made the U23 world championship team that year, and I chose not to go because I wanted to focus on representing my team and representing my school that I had poured like my heart into, and I know that the team had poured its entire heart into me as well. And so it is such a hard decision to make, and I feel like sometimes when you're in the environment on the World Cup, it can sometimes go almost like it's undervalued maybe in that environment. And I think it's really important to just like keep your own values to yourself then, or just like really keep them close to heart and know that like, hey, this does mean a lot to me and I want to go and do this. And I think it's really admirable just to see that you were able to balance all of those things, and really fun to kind of cheer you on throughout that whole time. And I guess I just like respect that you did want to still give back to the school that helped support you too.
Yeah, I mean, college skiing is really cool. And I think everyone who has the opportunity to try it should. And I know that, yeah, like you said, that view isn't shared by everybody. And I think it's evolved and changed a lot, like in the US, over, how the last few years, especially. But I had a really good time and I had a really good experience. And I don't think that college makes you slow. And I don't think that, like, one has to sacrifice for the other necessarily. There's, so many great programs now that have had a lot of success developing athletes that can ski internationally. And yeah, I don't think that it's so black and white that one works and one doesn't.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's specific to like each individual. Like someone might perform better not going to college, and that's the better trajectory for them. And someone might perform better taking a few years, like a gap year or 2 gap years, and then going to college, right? And it's going to be so different for the individual and their kind of developmental journey, I guess, along the way. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
I am curious just to like kind of talk about also then your college developmental journey, I guess, because Montana is not where you started college. You actually went to Middlebury for like a year or two. And so I'm curious if you'd be willing to walk us through the journey of going from high school to Middlebury, through COVID years and a pandemic, and then how you really ultimately ended up at MSU.
Yeah. So yeah, I started racing more competitively in high school and did my regular high school career, and then chose Middlebury College for my college choice. I had no idea that I would be transferring. And then yeah, COVID hit my senior year of high school in the spring, and I decided, people sort of started then making all different kinds of decisions as to what to do with college and with skiing and everything. Um, and I decided to go to school that fall. And it was really tough going, Vermont was in a particularly intense lockdown phase.
Mhm.
And I think that contributed a lot of stress to general life. Just going to school, kind of being received by the town, by the state was not totally smooth. I wouldn't say everybody was sort of on the same page about that necessarily. And there was just sort of a lot of really stressed energy around the whole thing, and for good reason. And it was all like in an effort to keep people safe while also offering, a college experience and a college education. But it was stressful.
Mhm.
And it was really difficult to kind of come on to a team that I didn't know yet. And not be allowed to all hang out together. Like there was nowhere on campus where that was within the guidelines that we were allowed to, meet each other all together. And so that posed a pretty big challenge, and I took that spring off um of school and just came home and skied, trained, kind of waited for things to like settle down was my idea, as well as most of the team. And then I went back the next fall and sort of ultimately decided that it wasn't a great fit for me to be out there, and I really really missed the West and Colorado. And so I then took that next spring off too. I had made the World Juniors team, and I went over to Europe and raced in Norway there, and went and did some racing at Opa Cup and Swiss Nationals, and just got all these cool like international experiences with different groups. And then came home and entered the transfer portal, and went up to Bozeman, visited Montana, and decided pretty much that weekend that I was going to give it a go at MSU. And that was like a really really great fit for me, and just kind of a different atmosphere and closer to home. And I think I definitely did like need to leave and go do something different. And that was a big motivator for me to go out east. Was like I grew up racing in Colorado, and many of the Western college races are at the same venues as ones I grew up on. So I was really excited to go out and experience like carnivals, which I did go to two carnivals in my time
Oh,
out there, and they were so much fun. Like that is a really special thing that the East Coast has. That isn't the same in the West, and we have a really great circuit too, but they're different. But yeah, ultimately I think I just found like a really comfortable fit at MSU, and got to build that really good relationship with my coaches and team out here. And yeah, the rest was history.
yeah. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry you only got to experience two carnivals. And for anyone listening who doesn't know what that means, it's the East Coast College Racing Circuit. They refer to each weekend as a carnival. So, each college kind of hosts a different carnival each weekend. And I don't know why it's called a carnival, but they are so much fun, and like the community around it is just incredible. And I can only imagine how difficult it was to kind of face all of that through COVID. I know that it was not normal, and I'm sorry you didn't get to have like a normal carnival season, but also fully respect that you just felt like it wasn't the right place at the right time. And I feel like that's such a huge kind of life decision to make, to be like, hey, this isn't clicking. I need to take a semester off, or okay, I'm trying again. This still isn't clicking. I need to change something here. And I guess I'm curious, like how did you go about making those decisions? Did you have one person that you were turning to, whether it was a parent or a previous coach or a friend that you were like, hey, I feel this way and I need to kind of make a change, or was that all on you?
um I think for the most part I was sort of just leaning on like my parents. And August, my coach here, helped me a lot through that transition. But I I definitely like knew that I needed to change something, and basically like taking those 2 semesters off was my way of like taking some time and just sort of hitting pause just so like I felt like I could make a more calculated like decision, just like have some time to think through scenarios and see like, okay, can we make this work or change this or
Mhm.
this? Like just trying not to be like, I don't think I'm super impulsive in general, so like I feel more comfortable having a little more time to like think it through. So that was sort of my thought process behind how I did that. And then yeah, just sort of going by feel. Like I feel pretty at home in Montana and in Colorado, and without having too much else to go on, like that was enough for me to say like, yeah, let's try this.
Yeah.
And obviously like you don't know that any decision is really going to be perfect, but you got to try if it's not working out in some way.
Yeah, you gotta change something. Well, speaking of decisions, I feel like you recently had another big decision to make about joining
Mhm.
the BSF Pro team in Bozeman. Clearly, Montana has been good to you and you've enjoyed it there. But I know when we were rooming all over the world together this winter, we had quite a few conversations about this just because it is a big decision to make when you're graduating from college and you want to pursue ski racing, but there are different teams you could join or different routes you could take. And it's hard to kind of, I mean, it's basically like choosing a college to go to all over again of like, where do I see myself living and where do I feel like I have a community? So, what did that decision look like for you to join the BSF team?
Yeah, well, speaking of yeah, decisions and speaking of change, changing a lot of things abruptly didn't really feel right for me this year.
Yeah.
And so staying in Bozeman was just like a really good way to sort of smooth out that transition, is how I was looking at it. And yeah, it was a long decision and it was not an easy one. As you just alluded, I, like was in an environment where I was with people from virtually every pro team in the country. And sort of getting like every single day questions. Oh, what do you want to do? What do you like?
Yeah.
People just like wanting to support me, wanting to like just talk about it, wanting to know. And um yeah, it was hard because there are really like, there's enough teams where it was felt like there were a lot of options. And each team has its own sort of pros and cons. And I think like staying in Bozeman and staying in, like you said, like a location where I feel comfortable living and where I enjoy the training and stuff was felt pretty natural to me. And I think sort of just minimizing like a life altering transition
Yeah.
when I'm already going from a college team to a pro team, which, like is definitely a transition in itself. But I'm still surrounded by like a lot of similar resources. There's multiple Nordic ski teams in Bozeman, which is a cool community to be a part of, and I still am in pretty close collaboration with my college coaches, which is really awesome. Like they're still more than willing to help me out with stuff, and we can talk about, like we were talking about earlier, thinking about what works for me, what doesn't work for me, and having a couple more brains in the mix to kind of reflect on that from different perspectives and stuff like that is really great, and a cool resource to be able to be close to still. So yeah, I think it felt like the most natural transition, which was sort of my priority at this point. And we're talking about change. If it needs to change at some point in the future, like I'm just gonna kind of cross that bridge when I get to it and not close that door either. But yeah.
Yeah, I think as much as when you notice like, hey, this isn't clicking, this isn't right, I need to change something, the same goes in the reverse of like,
Yeah,
this is
totally.
something that my college coach Patrick Weaver told me, like, if something is working and it is clicking, then don't change it.
Yeah, if it
Like
ain't
keep
broke,
doing it.
totally. Yeah.
So I feel like you definitely followed that of like Bozeman's working, right? And Montana is working, and yeah, you technically switch teams, but you can still collaborate with your MSU coaches, and you can still see a lot of the same faces and roller ski the same routes and such. So
Yeah, it's a
yeah,
blessing
I
and a
feel like
curse, right? How many
yeah.
triple trees can you do in one summer?
That's fair. Well, how has the summer been so far? How's training going and kind of the day-to-day environment? You're not going back to school this fall, so what's that kind of look like? And what are you maybe prioritizing this summer when it comes to training?
Yeah, I think it will be kind of weird. Like, I'm home now. This is sort of what I've done the last few years. I'm home in August, like getting my last Carbondale fix, and then I'm going back to Bozeman, but not going back to school. And
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna be a little sad for sure. I really liked school.
yeah,
All like the teammates that are still at school at MSU are all gonna be coming back and getting back into their school life. And I think it's gonna feel a little weird, but I'm also excited to not have that kind of added layer on top of everything else that I want to do. And then I also sort of get my like old team back in town, so I'm getting like two benefits, I think.
yeah,
So I'm excited for people to get back. Um, but no, the summer's been good, and I to answer your question about some things I've been focusing on, like it sort of is going back for me to that piece of consistency and like kind of finding a rhythm between day-to-day activities like within training sessions. I was in Anchorage earlier this summer for a training camp, and um talking to like the coaches up there about like rhythm in skiing was one thing that we were focusing on, and that's kind of like a cool new perspective for me to think about. And then sort of like I've been thinking about expanding that between training sessions to resting and day-to-day training, week-to-week training, and just kind of like routines are good for me. I think like
mhm,
having something that's predictable and I can sort of do similar stuff every day works well for me, and I know that, and that's great. So sort of like leaning into that has been a focus for me this summer.
yeah.
So building, stacking slowly.
Yeah, it takes a lot of bricks to build a house that lasts all winter because dang,
Yeah,
that
right.
that winter is tough and it
I don't
breaks it down.
necessarily know that I had a house that lasted all last winter. I think I was pretty tired by the end. I just did a treadmill test. Like we have a ski treadmill at MSU, which is has been a cool thing to play with over the years. And I did a treadmill test. We do the same protocol every time. And I did one at the end of last spring, and I was just so cooked after
Yeah.
flying back from spring series. We had like this long, grueling 40K in the slush, and it was just so tough. And I just so distinctly remember getting off the treadmill at the end and the doctor of the lab just looking at me and going, "Yeah, you're really tired. All the numbers are saying you're really tired." And I was just like, "I know."
Yeah, I could have told you that we
Yeah,
didn't need to do
it's
this
like,
test.
honestly, this is pretty validating in some ways where like somebody's looking at a data set and being like, "Oh boy, nap
Yeah.
time."
Yeah.
So
For the entire month of April, it's nap
yeah,
time.
exactly. But no, it's a fun tool to play with, and I think like yeah, focusing on just building slowly is it's sort of hard sometimes. You get excited and you want to just go for it, but
Yeah.
sort of an important foundational thing that I've been working on. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Takes a lot of consistency day in and day out, and also a lot of patience to be like, oh, I can't get too excited too quickly. Like all of these little things or these long hours, like they're gonna add up. But sometimes you like lose track of that when it's August, and
yeah.
you're like, why am I still roller skiing for how many hours? And
I know. I always hit like a roller skiing lull in August where
Mhm.
I'm just like, oh boy, like
Well,
nothing's
now you have a
not
good
that
mountain
more.
bike, so you can
Exactly.
just
Yeah, we're mixing it
crush
up a
some
little bit.
Yeah, crush some new hours
Oh yeah.
on the bike. But you did get to go, as you mentioned, you did get to go ski on snow
Mhm.
up in Anchorage on the glacier with US ski team. So I'm curious just how that went. How was that camp, and what was that like for you?
Yeah, it was a sweet camp. Unfortunately, I got a little bit sick the first week, so I was sort of balancing like that's another tough thing, like,
Yeah,
learning how to listen to your body and do your own thing when you're just living normally is hard. And then when you're at a ski camp where, you're surrounded by professional athletes all training together and like, oh man, it's hard to sit out of those sessions, but um, so I kind of chilled out the first week, and then we went up to the glacier, and they just finished a really, really cool facility up there. It's just so well set up. Things are dialed. It's a pretty optimal training situation. You can ski twice a day, just ski to your heart's content. And I got a lot of good training up there. It's hard skiing. It's hilly,
Yeah.
and it was really cloudy for our trip, and so one, it was really cloudy, and two, it never froze.
Mm.
So it was really slow. But in a way that's super valuable because you get to the end of the season and you're skiing in that bottomless, and on the glacier it's truly bottomless like conditions. And so practicing that in the middle of the summer is a really cool, opportunity. So
Yeah.
yeah, I learned a lot. I got to go in a helicopter for the first time, which I was really scared. It was but also exhilarating and so beautiful. Um, and yeah, it's really always good to check in with other coaches. We had US ski team staff there, and APU staff, and sort of like mix it up a little bit is really fun. Just helps break up the summer grind a little bit. So yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
I heard that it was a great camp, and last week I recorded with Gus, and he was kind of talking about how like the conditions and how it was pretty slushy. So I feel
Yeah.
like that is always really tricky and hopefully good for people to practice and
Oh yeah, there was
still
tons of
valuable.
good mental fortitude drills up there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like getting to just rip skiing all week, like you can ski as much as you want,
Yeah.
is a cool thing in the summer.
Yeah.
And like roller skiing, especially in classic, one of my goals was to classic ski a lot. Um, is so different, like double pulling on a pavement or striding
Mhm.
on your ratchets, like so different than a clister ski. And so like it's really valuable, and I was really glad to be able to go up there and keep it in control, like we were just
Yeah.
talking about. It's so easy to get too excited, but kind of temper that and just be productive, and I think hopefully we'll see how it goes come Twister season, but I think it was
Yeah.
really good.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, Clister season might be a little far away. Hopefully, it's not
that's a hope.
how we approach the season, but you never know. In this day and age, we could have our
Yeah,
first
it
races
sure
on
rained in
Clister.
Anchorage at US Nationals this year.
Yeah,
The
true.
stadium
Okay,
was a
that's
big
true.
old puddle at the end of the week.
Wow. Well, if you're starting on period one of the World Cup, will be in Ruka,
Hmm.
Finland. So
Unlikely Twister.
hopefully that's not Clister.
Yeah.
Um, what else is up with you this fall in terms of training or other travels, or what is going to look the same or different from last year? Like we mentioned, you're not going to be juggling school, so any other camps you're going to, or really big things that you're kind of prioritizing?
Well, one of the things that'll be different that's sort of been on my mind lately is leaving in November. Um,
Hmm.
that feels really significant to me, and hopefully I'm like overestimating it, but I feel like I am able to be pretty productive training between, like Thanksgiving and nationals. Like this last year I had a great Thanksgiving camp and got a solid training block like kind of early December, and that's all going to be racing now. So that's going to be, I think, a bit of an adjustment. Beyond that though, like I kind of am just going to be in Bozeman, keeping my routine similar, keeping it consistent. I'm going to go to the whole Park City camp, which I haven't done 2 weeks there before. Um and that'll be awesome. Like I think it'll be super fun to kind of see people, and so many teams go to that camp. It's such a like fun melting pot of people.
Yep.
So that's going to be, I think that's going to be great. And yeah, beyond that, like I don't know, I have flexibility. Like I love being in Bozeman because I can get in my truck and go somewhere if I want to, but
Yeah.
I don't have to, and I can just kind of stay in the grind and enjoy that too. So yeah.
Nice. That'll be fun. Will you be driving to Park City from Bozeman then?
Mm, not sure. Have to decide how. Might be nice if I end up getting, like a lot of random gear and stuff. I struggled with that a
Yeah.
little bit this winter because I was like, I showed up and they were like, "Oh, jackets, pants, and everything."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my gosh, I do not have room for any of this." Um,
Yeah.
but no, I don't know. Maybe I'll drive down. It's fun to
You
have
gotta
off.
bring your bike, right?
Well, there's definitely that. Lots of fun places to stop between Park City and Bozeman. Lots of fun options. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm excited. I'll be there with Team Berkey, so I'm excited to see you
Yay.
there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one more big question and then a couple of small fun questions to kind
Mhm.
of wrap things up. But I guess, do you have any goals, whether they're process goals or results goals that you have for this season or this winter that you're willing to share with our listeners?
I mean, I think I've sort of rattled off my consistency and um,
Hmm.
routine goals, and those are process goals, but I think they're pretty significant. And then, yeah, it's an Olympic year. That's definitely on my radar, and I've sort of like in talking with my coaches about it. That would be unbelievable, and I would be so excited to make that team. But I'm also building in like some other plans so that if I don't make the team this year or something like that, like I have a good fallback plan and some other stuff that I'm excited about.
Hmm.
World Cup finals in Lake Placid. I would love to race
Yes.
there. I think that would be super, super fun. So yeah, those are sort of the bigger result based goals. And then like unfortunately I do still have a lot of uncertainty in my season, and that's just how it goes. So sort of be
Hmm.
playing it by ear from then on out.
Yeah. Well, so you talked about consistency a lot, and I'm
Mhm.
curious, what does that mean to you? Like, does that mean going to bed at 9:30 every night and waking up at the same time? Or does that mean like um, training X number of hours each day, or rolling on a foam roller for
Mhm.
however much time? Like, what does that mean to Kate?
Yeah, that is a good question. It is sort of a ambiguous term. Um, yeah, it does have a lot to do with like the outside of skiing plans. So you are talking like recovery stuff, totally. And then also like I think for me the structure of each week is nice to have pretty similar. So like 2 interval sessions works well, 2 strength sessions, and just kind of like it feels easier to maintain things for me that way rather than like sort of do the sprint and then stop kind
Yeah.
of strategy. And then yeah, sort of just rolling through hours, like looking at the week, saying like, okay, these are the sessions I want to do, keeping that fairly, predictable. I always feel like the worst I feel in a training cycle on the rest week. So when I do kind of get out of that rhythm, of going to training, doing the training, going back to training, like I think my body responds well to sort of that system, and I always feel really tired on rest weeks, which is why we have them and they are so
Yeah.
important, but man, it can be tough. So yeah, I think like I don't know, hopefully that sort of answered your question.
Yeah.
I think it is largely based on sessions and sort of doing similar things week by week.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Um, cool. Okay, well, thank you for diving deep into some of these questions. I've just got some fun, like, last question just to kind of get to know Kate more
Oh,
for
don't
people who
ask me
are
like serious
curious.
level, please.
Okay, that actually was not on the list. I really don't like that question either. I'm curious, what was your favorite stop this past year on the World Cup?
Oh, good one, good one. Um, I think I would have to go with Engadine.
Oh,
Yeah, the hotel we were staying in was pretty unbelievable. The
amazing.
breakfast buffet, hard to
So
beat.
good.
The skiing scenery, like culture of the marathon race there, and just all the stuff we learned about. And I watched some snow polo with some of our
Oh,
teammates
yeah,
there,
yeah.
which was really kind of fun. Uh,
Classic St. Moritz.
yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, I think that was a really cool stop.
Yeah, that's great.
And my
What was,
first World Cup ever. So,
yeah,
what's
way
not to
to, yeah, you came in on a high. Just like, I mean,
yeah.
better than
Oh,
like,
I know it.
there are some other places. My first European World Cup was in Novo Mesto, Czech Republic, and it was not in
Oh my
Engadine
goodness.
Valley.
Yeah.
It was a little different. Great place. I would love to go back, but I think I'd prioritize Engadine. Okay, favorite food on the road that you had, or like drink, or just something that you tried that was maybe new, or you're like, wow, that was really good.
Easy. The cardamom bun type
Oh,
thing. What was that? Pula bread? Yeah,
yes,
that
yes,
we
yes.
had in Tallinn, in the city, in Estonia.
Yeah.
Um, oh my gosh, I think about that still, like, all the time. It was just so delicious and warm and perfectly cardamom and oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it was so good.
I
I've
know.
tried
I
to
was,
recreate it and I can't. I don't know.
yeah, they're so good. And honestly, it's like way more of a Swedish thing. And I would say that the bular that we had in Tallinn was like the best I've ever had.
Yeah, it was oh my gosh, so
Yeah.
good.
Okay, we gotta go back.
Done.
I also love that we scootered there on these like or biked maybe. So, no, I don't
No, it
know
was
for sure
scooters,
bikes
yeah.
or scooters. Yeah, we scootered on electric scooters and we had like the morning to kill and it was just
Yeah,
like
that
what
I
else would
did
we
not
do?
have, like, my most favorite race there, but outside the racing, like, just hanging out on the beach, the rocky
Yes.
beach, scootering all around, like,
Yeah.
seeing it's a cool city, like, that's a unique race
It is a
venue
cool
for
city.
sure.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a pretty fun couple of days. Fast and
Yeah,
furious, but pretty fun.
absolutely. Um, where is your favorite hangout spot in Carbondale? Like if you just want to go chill somewhere.
Oh, well, probably Dos Gringos burritos, honestly. Just unlimited burritos and coffee all the time. It's hard to beat that.
That is hard to beat.
Not a
So
shameless plug, but I mean, kind of
listeners, Kate's parents own a burrito shop
pretty easy
in
one right here.
Carbondale, and it's a pretty great burrito shop, so you should go check it out. Dos Gringos burritos, it's very good. Okay, last time I went, actually, I stopped there this spring when I was backcountry skiing there with friends, and there's donuts too. That
Yeah,
was like such a pleasant surprise. We were there at like way too early in the morning getting coffee and burritos, and we also got donuts.
we've expanded our pastry cabinet. Our funny story, we have scones now that are super popular, and
Oh,
the way those scones came to life is because during COVID, our pastry delivery service got suspended. And so my
ooh,
dad was like, go to Dose, he like to me, like, go to Dose, make a bunch of pastries. Like, you got this, take,
yeah,
just go, make pastries. And so I made these scones, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, it is so good, just like a random internet like recipe.
yeah.
So they stuck. We still have them. Now we
Oh my
mass
gosh.
them, and they're really
I
good.
need I need a Kate Oldham Dos Gringos scone.
Yeah, so get your fill next time you're here.
Ah, okay. Reasons to go back to Carbondale. Um, okay. Follow-up question then. This might be a hot take. So tacos or burritos? You had to pick one.
Hmm. Gosh, probably tacos.
Oh,
Well, so the thing, I know I got hung up on
just
this. I have obviously a lot of thoughts about this because I spend a lot of time, deciding tacos or burritos today. I am really into doing like a summer salad wrap. So one of our salads
ooh,
just in a wrap. That's like my favorite thing right now. But I think tacos, like a really good taco, is better than a good burrito. Unless it's a breakfast burrito, then I might go breakfast burrito.
okay,
So
that's fair.
long story long, it's complicated.
Yeah, it's very complicated. That's okay. You're allowed. Okay, what's your favorite running route around Bozeman?
Oh, hmm, that's a great question. Um, I really like Highlight Peak.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
beautiful. It's a good length. Nothing's
Mhm.
like too steep, and you get to drive up beautiful Highlight Canyon and back down.
Nice. Awesome. Okay, if you had a full day off in either Bozeman or Carbondale and you had no calls or other commitments, how would you spend it? Who would you spend it with? What would you be up to?
Oh gosh, who would I spend it with is hard. I have so many great friends.
You
Uh,
don't have to pick if you don't want to.
yeah, I think, just a handful of the good friends is unbeatable. I would probably go ride some horses if I could. It's one of my favorites. I love hanging out on the river. So I think in Carbondale, if I was here, I'd probably go on the river. Um, yeah, take some burritos, hang out, kayak, raft, whatever. I think that's I think that's pretty hard to beat.
Excellent. Okay, well, if you have an off day or maybe an off afternoon activity that you could get up to in Europe, what was your favorite from this past year, or what would you repeat?
Oh, I read a lot of good books this winter, I will say. I did scooter to the beach one time by myself and just read my book, and that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know, in
Scooter
Europe.
to the beach in like February or March or whatever
You
it
know what?
was.
It was actually pretty pleasant. I think it wasn't snowy or anything. But yeah, that's a good point. It wasn't exactly beachy. Um, Off afternoon in Europe. I think just checking out like different coffee shops, different little espresso huts, I guess maybe you would say, different pastries. Otherwise, how
Mhm,
would I have found out about the delicious Estonian treat?
mhm.
Um, yeah, honestly, I was enjoying skiing, like leisure skiing as well, which isn't maybe a good off afternoon activity, but it's kind of like an awesome way to explore. And yeah, I love skiing, so pretty
Yeah.
fun.
Okay, so what was the best book that you've recently read, whether that was this past winter or in the last year or so?
Mm. I just read The Wedding People, and I thought that
Oh.
was an interesting one. Um, yeah, I really liked it. Talks about like something that I was thinking about a lot last year of like what it means to be lonely and like how you can feel lonely with like surrounded by people versus like being by yourself. And like I kind of think that's an interesting thing to think about, especially traveling. Like I was feeling sort of lonely in the middle of the winter because I was like in a totally new place, but I was
Mhm.
like surrounded by people and sort of like yeah, like what that means. And it's just something to think about, and it was a fun book to read. Just
Yeah,
definitely gets the gears turning. So yeah,
interesting.
yeah, it's a
Cool.
good.
I've definitely heard of that one, and I didn't realize it kind of alluded to that, so it'd be interesting to kind of read that and dive into it.
It's a fun read. It's like easy page turner, but there's definitely some concepts in there. Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
just your guilty pleasure book, which I also love. But
a
yeah.
full Colleen Hoover.
Oh, girl, did I read some Colleen Hoover this winter? Yeah, those
You're the best for the winter. It's like all
the
you need.
8 hours between NCAA's and back on the plane. I was just turning through Jack Reacher, another
Yeah.
classic. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
I
Um,
inherited my mom's Kindle, so what I like to do is
oh,
just kind of like close my eyes and just, grab something, and she reads a lot. So it's a fun way for me to look at new books.
that's cool. That's super fun. I love that. Um, okay, last question. If you were to go back in time, what would you tell 16-year-old Kate about pursuing dreams or goals or just kind of being a great human and yeah.
Oh, that is tough. I think first and foremost, it's okay to do you. Like I used to tell myself you do you all the time. I still do. Um and that you are not responsible for controlling people's reactions. That's like one that's so important and so hard to remember sometimes. Like control your actions, act in alignment with your values when you can, but
Hmm.
you're not responsible for how people react.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, easier said than
Well,
done,
yeah. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And especially when you're like traveling all over the world and you're with people who are tired from racing
Oh yeah.
or, there's criteria or like travel plans get changed and it's like, oh my God, you have
Totally.
no control over anything. And
Yeah.
like all you can control is your own self. That's good. I love that. Okay. Thank you so much, Kate. This has been so fun to catch up. I'm so excited just to hear about how great things are going for you to continue on in Bozeman. And I can't wait to see you this fall in Park City and then to start period one of the World Cup with you too. It's going to be really fun. So
Yeah,
thanks
thank you so
for
much for
chatting.
having me. Yeah, it was so fun to talk.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Extra Blue powered by Gear West. And thank you, Kate, for joining me. If you're interested in following along with Kate's training and racing this winter, you can follow her on Instagram at kate.oldham. Don't forget, you can now watch these episodes on Gear West's YouTube channel. While you're online, it's super helpful if you provide this podcast a rating and review and share an episode with a friend or family member. Thank you to Gear West for the support for this podcast, and thank you again for listening. I'll see you next time on Extra Blue.